Hello and welcome to Outcast Collective Podcast, where we discuss an array of topics from video games to movies, TV, and comic books. I am Rob. Thank you for tuning into our Thursday night show. And I am joined once again this week by Janelle and Santiago, the Lord Biswa. Thank you guys for coming on. Let's get right into it. 2 weeks ago, we talked about Civil War and everything that we were looking forward to. I thought it was a fantastic movie. I enjoyed it from beginning to end. But Santiago, what did you think?
I went ahead and put it in my top 5 comic book movies. I wouldn't say it's my number one.
What's the number one?
The Dark Knight.
Okay.
Yeah.
Joker Dark Knight, right?
Yeah.
Yummy.
I would say you could even argue top 3, because number 2 would be Deadpool, because that one was just ridiculous fun. And then Civil War, honestly, yeah, it could be a good candidate for 3, but it's got to fight Guardians of the Galaxy, and it's got to fight the first Avengers. So,
see, I definitely think it's better than the first Avengers.
Yeah.
Because the first Avengers was just a great introduction. I mean, the Loki was a fantastic bad guy, but the whole of the story was just awesome to get everybody moving and get everybody out there. And hey, look, we're kind of a team and we can interact on the same screen. Where Civil War was a developed out plot that really pulled at all of the characters from different directions. So, so look at me like that. Don't come to me. I don't want to talk about it.
I don't know. I mean,
What was your reaction?
I'm probably like the rare percentage of the planet fans that have seen the movie that it was all right. I'm not going top 3 like Sante. Only because it was to me, the speed of it took you so long to get into.
It didn't excite you?
It didn't excite me to the point, the trailers made me excited. And then when I got there, it wasn't exciting as I thought it was going to be, personally. It was just two people end up fighting against each other. That is emotional because you're dealing with two friends. But then I think what I clearly walked away from with that was, yeah, Tony, you don't have any friends, but now you have one, and you're helping him go through the rehabilitation stage. And so you kind of found out who his real friends were. You know what I mean? Because, Captain America had Bucky. And so you got that whole scene where he's like, well, I thought I was your friend. Well, it's Bucky. Bucky's my best friend since way back when.
Right.
And then kind of Iron Man kind of learns at that point, like, wow, who do I really have? I just, my wife's gone. I just lost half of my team. And I went to a personal level with that. How Tony Stark looks in his eyes when he's like, but we were friends.
Well, I think the movie did do it really well. Because you saw Tony literally admit in the one scene where I fucked up.
Yeah, he admits he fucked up every time.
I've said this a couple times. He is his own worst enemy.
Right.
Every movie, every story, he is the one who creates the issues. Even in this one, War Machine does not get hurt if he stands up against the government in the same manner as everybody else. Ultimately, every decision that Tony made led to him creating enemies within his own friends. Captain America was his friend, but Captain America, Steve Rogers, has a better relationship with Bucky.
Right.
They have history that Tony wasn't even alive for.
Right.
And even Black Widow.
But Tony's ego is, I thought we were friends.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. And and now he's sitting there going, I have nobody.
And I am team captain. I'm all about
100%. I was team captain going in. I left even more so. I even left going, okay, I get where Tony's new story arc is going. Is Tony failed with his technology over and over again. Every version, whether it's just his particle accelerator or Ultron, it's always failed him, and now he has this redemption story that they're going to build into, which is Spider-Man. That's where I think Spider-Man is going. Is he's going to come alongside, going, all right, I have learned this life lesson, this life lesson, this life lesson. As far as a human being or as a superhero, and he's going to instow that all on Peter. And I think that's where Spider-Man: Homecoming is going. But you have an idea for Spider-Man. What are you thinking?
Well, so I think that Spider-Man, the way that, because, playing with the rumor that Vulture was going to be the original bad guy for Spider-Man: Homecoming, they're still going to hold on to that. Why change it? Feige knows what he's doing, so why would they change who the bad guy is going to be? Now, instead of having Michael Keaton, they're just going to find somebody else. If they can keep Vulture is he's another almost Iron Man, except for he's a competing CEO with Stark Enterprises, and his business is not nearly as well known and as successful.
It does depend on which version of Vulture they do. I don't remember his human name, but he also worked for Norman Osborn in different scenarios. Mm-hmm. So that could be a play. They could have a Norman, Vulture, Robert Downey or Tony Stark competing technology buffs.
Right. And good storyline.
And so if you have Spider-Man, who has been given these great gifts, not just his powers, but then also given, tech by Tony Stark, then you're gonna have you could potentially have this problem with Vulture wanting to, get it in on that, and also Peter said that he had developed the web stuff himself. Yeah. Tony asked, where'd you get this? And he's like,
1980s computer on the desk.
Yeah, and he was like, I made it. And so, so I think that's another thing where you might have Vulture trying to get a hold of that.
Get a hold of Spider-Man, or just get a hold of his technology,
his tech, and then the web shooters and and all that. But having Tony being involved in Homecoming makes me think that it's going to come down to, you're right, he's going to be giving these life lessons to Spider-Man, to Peter, but then when Vulture gets more involved, I'm wondering how much more involved Tony's going to be.
Right, I was going to say, do you think that Tony Stark might get into I'm going to retire from Iron Man, and I'm just gonna be this mentor on the side, and then he gets threatened by Vulture and then has to come back in, maybe?
I'm thinking, I think it would be interesting to have Vulture capturing Tony without his suits.
See, I don't even know who Vulture is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the Vulture we don't even know yet. He is a scientist that has this bird outfit, essentially, where it's a lot like the Falcon, but he's an older guy. Mm-hmm. And so he's the scientist that's always been trying to...
So he's villain?
He's
definitely a villain. But he's a villain of his own circumstances. Depending on which version of the storyline they come up with, which is why I mentioned Norman steals this technology, especially when he becomes the Green Goblin. He takes that flight suit technology and adapts it to his wing glider, and then that trumps what Vulture was doing, and now all of a sudden Green Goblin's a better bad guy than even the Vulture is, and so...
Do you think they'll bring the Goblin back?
But there's also another version.
Yeah. They have to. Green Goblin is the...
Absolute...
Is the Joker to Batman.
And now we got... Spider-Man, and Green Goblin comes in with Spider-Man, so that's probably where he'll probably come in again in a couple of years.
That's my favorite two hero bad guy combos is Batman, Joker, and right below the Spider-Man Green Goblin. Yeah, it is an amazing storyline that just arcs all over the place. Even when the dad dies and then Harry takes over. It's just so good, so personal, and that's what makes Spider-Man so good. And that's why I'm glad MCU has them, because they're gonna build that personal, overall. So
right.
But before you get into the rest of your Spider-Man idea, I wanted to mention him in Civil War itself. What did you feel about him? Were you surprised by how he came about in Civil War, or were you like, oh yeah, that's just Spider-Man? Yeah, oh great, he's playing with the guys now.
I loved how they brought him in. Some people didn't really get the whole thing with how would Tony know who he was and all this stuff, and it's like, well, they don't spell it out, they don't draw it out in crayon, but what they do is they're like, hey, he has this foundation that he's doing for college kids, college-bound kids. He's going to be receiving emails and applications from all these people. Tony is smart enough to see this kid, see that, because they don't tell us what Peter submitted. Maybe he submitted that filament, his webbing, and Tony goes, wow, that's really impressive, and then sees the YouTube videos of this like masked kid or person, taking people down and using webbing and going. Do
you think they'll ever?
I think
on that.
Oh, I think that's what Homecoming is going to explain. I think Homecoming is going to explain that, because so many people brought it up that the writers actually had to get on the internet and explain. That's one thing that's pissing me off about movies nowadays is that like people feel compelled to explain their movie. Number one, if you have to, it's a bad fucking movie. And number two,
or you had no common sense, one or the other.
Right. But like I think that Civil War, that little sub-story was very well explained, just people didn't put it together. They were too lazy about it. It didn't take me long to figure it out. As soon as he said, I read your email, I was like, an application for his foundation. Boom, done. Yeah. It made sense in my head.
Well, the movie started out with Tony Stark talking to college kids, going, hey, I've got this foundation for you brainiac science people.
And it's all covered.
It could even be a further story in Homecoming where Doc Connors, who is the Lizard Man, he's a teacher of Peter Parker. That's in every story, that's in every arc, that's in every version. If that is the case, then he could be one of Parker's high school teachers. If not, then he might come up in college. But it would make sense to make it one of his high school teachers, and Doc Connors helps recommend Parker. Maybe that's part of the email. Who knows how this email thing works. But yeah, I thought the movie was pretty obvious. It was like, hey, I'm a science nerd. Tony Stark's going to be interested in science nerds, no matter what level, what version, and then he puts two and two together. So yeah, I think the web slinging compound, because it could have multiple uses.
Right.
It could be an alternative to this or that for this situation with lifting or pulling or whatever.
Right.
It doesn't just have to be swinging around the city as a fucking half man, half spider.
Well, I mean, just look at the way that Spider-Man uses it. He uses it as a temporary fix to, suspend bridges, to stop cars, to tie up bad guys. I mean, it's got hundreds of uses, and it's definitely something that Tony, and especially if it's organic like it is in the comic books, where it decomposes on its own, Tony would be all about that.
Oh, yeah.
So it's perfect. That's exactly how he got Tony's attention.
I never knew that.
Yeah.
The webbing?
Decomposes on its own.
Yep.
That's cool.
It works like regular spider webbing is the idea.
Well, I don't know. I just never thought of it. I just thought he threw it. It's up. It's there. We gotta
no,
clean
they
it up.
they even say that it decomposes within a week, but like if there's like constant rain, it's like 3 days or something like that. Yeah.
Good knowledge.
But yeah, no, like I said, I thought that the way they brought him into the story was perfect. I thought the way they used him was perfect.
Yeah.
Tom Holland nailed the performance.
100%.
Oh yeah, he was great.
His little accent was awesome. It was great, and I loved hearing
his little
him
high pitch.
Yeah, I loved hearing him try and talk shit.
Spider-Man.
Right.
Oh yeah.
Hearing him trying to talk shit to adults was just hilarious, and they're just like, kid. And he was like, "Oh, my bad." Like,
well, what I was impressed was that they even had a moment where him and Captain America fought, and and then they were going back and forth, and Captain did something. I don't remember exactly what he did, but then
dropped the terminal down
just before that.
Oh, okay.
Where Captain America is like, "Oh, I've got this. This kid's a little weasel thing," and he does something like that would test Spider-Man's strength. I think it had something to do with the webs themselves, how you're shooting them at him. And then Captain was like, "Okay, so I underestimated this guy. All right, now I need to adapt." And this shows how well war veteran Captain is. And he's like, "Okay, so now I spin it around," and he takes the terminal or the. In my head, it looked like a semi truck or something, but I don't know what the fuck it was.
It was the gangway.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
planes.
So he has to catch it, and then they have this conversation with
Where
showing
from,
how
kid?
strong Spider-Man is.
Yeah,
Spider-Man is stronger than Captain America.
Well, and I love how he was just like, "You got heart, kid. Where are you from?
Yeah.
Queens, Brooklyn."
Yeah.
And he takes off.
Exactly.
Oh, how about when Cap throws the shield and it bounces around, and Spidey's like, "That doesn't obey the laws of physics." Like, it was so great.
Yeah. Oh, it was awesome. And that's the big thing too is we're coming out of Captain America and everybody's like, "Oh, is he going to get his shield back?" Well, here's the thing: vibranium comes from Wakanda. It comes from Africa.
And where's Bucky?
And that's where they end up. They're in Wakanda. Well, we know. Well, Bucky is in Wakanda with them, so he's gonna get his shield back. And I'm actually curious if they're gonna do a different shield instead of the round one. I wonder if they'll do the whole pointy, like
the
old, what's it called?
It's like the chevron shaped shield.
Medieval times type shield, a knight's shield is what I was aiming for.
Well, yeah, because in the comic books, what ends up happening is that Falcon ends up having the round shield.
Yeah.
The buckler.
Yeah, he gets it after Captain is killed.
Right.
So.
And then when they brought back Steve Rogers, he had, like, they ended up giving him the full size shield instead. And
which was his fake
Captain
shield in the first Captain America, the first Avenger. He had that fake shield for a little while, and then
when he was doing the
Howard
stage
Stark
shows,
upgraded him to the vibranium one. So we'll see. It'll be interesting.
Yeah.
But I am glad they're there, and I was actually glad that they didn't end up doing that arc that killed Captain America. And I knew it as soon as they killed Crossbones.
Right.
As soon as they killed Crossbones, I knew Captain was not gonna die. That and other things, but.
Right.
But what's cool is back in I think the 90s, Captain America ran a group of Avengers called the Secret Avengers.
Mm-hmm.
And Captain led them, and it was
Sounds
Falcon.
like what's
and
going on
it's
now.
exactly what's going on.
Yep.
Now.
Yeah.
And that's what I think is going to happen is
Vigilante type, right?
absolutely. They're going to be undercover. They're going to do secret missions.
That's where I think Infinity War is going to have.
Yeah.
It's not so much going to be a part 1, part 2. It's going to be perspective 1, perspective 2.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, we're going to have the Secret Avengers, and then we're going to have the real Avengers, the new Avengers. Yeah. And so, and the new Avengers will be Tony Stark led.
Yeah.
I still am banking on that Tony will die. I think that that's going to be the hinge point.
He's
probably
been in so long, I agree.
And because he even said, like, I think I've got one more Iron Man movie in me.
Yeah.
You do one more Iron Man movie, Infinity War Part 1, and then Infinity War Part 2, you bring him in just long enough to kill him off, to reunite all of the Marvel MCU.
You go.
Everybody unites under the one flag of Tony sacrificed himself, and then that's when Steve Rogers jumps in and leads it again. But afterwards, I think, and partially to give Chris Evans a break, let him walk away for a while.
Well, then you got to deal with this Sokovia.
The Sokovia Accords.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's going to be part of what happens in the rest, we're in phase 3, right? Right.
Yeah.
Phase 3. Yeah, that's what's going to be the sort of thread for all of phase 3, is the fallout from the Sokovia Accords.
Yeah, I think Infinity War will definitely tie it up. It'll be interesting to see whether Part 1 focuses on both of them or just Tony's team. My guess is it'll probably be just Tony's team, and then Infinity War 2 will start out with a mission of Captain America's. Or they'll do something strange where they make it happen in there. But I'm actually interested in a standalone Secret War, Secret Avengers movie.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want them to just show up to save the day from Thanos and disappear again. I want to see them in action doing a secret spy movie of some sort.
Yeah.
It'd be awesome.
Well, and that could definitely be one of the things that they could visit. I don't think Feige was saying that there is an interest in doing a Black Widow movie. I don't think it's going to happen in Phase 3. I think it's going to happen in Phase 4.
Yeah, probably not.
But I think that would be another part of the Secret Avengers, would be giving Black Widow that solo movie, which I'm excited for.
Oh, I think it'll be great.
Oh yeah,
She has
and
great energy.
she does, and
As
I mean,
an actress, as a role, everything.
and she deserves to have at least one Marvel movie on her own. Like, she really does. Scarlett has been nailing it every time. She never phones it in.
The fight scenes in Civil War that she's done.
Right.
Oh my God! You're just like pop, pop, pop.
Well, and I mean,
You
look
know,
at
it's like, wow.
even Age of Ultron. Like, they had to use a stunt double for quite a bit of it, but she still got pretty physical despite being pregnant while filming.
Oh wow.
Right, yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
she still pushed herself to a safe,
Right.
distance, but she still pushed herself. She deserves to have her own standalone movie.
Yeah, I
She really
agree.
does.
I agree. I especially because you could do this really awesome flashbacky movie where she's dealing with something currently, almost like how Arrow presents their show,
Right.
Where half the show is him dealing with something that kind of correspondingly themed wise deals with currently what's happening in the show.
Mm-hmm.
I think that would be a great Black.
Yeah, because
Widow
I
movie.
kind of want to know her backstory.
Right.
Right,
Her
'cause-
backstory would be cool to do.
Yeah, it's very
or,
awesome.
Even if
Yeah.
it's just the
Mhm.
the first half hour, or if
Right.
they incorporate it in and out throughout the movie. But I think still knowing
Well, and-
her origin would be really cool.
and you could always bring in some young actress to play her young, that's like, that needs that break.
Right.
Oh, sure.
And
Yeah.
that would be really cool.
Yeah.
But also, with Scarlett and being such a big name, you wouldn't necessarily have to make the movie a big, huge budget. It could be
No.
another Ant-Man.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
It could be
I
another
think that's
little
what it should be.
little breathing space, because that's one thing that I think a lot of the non-comic book nerds are getting upset with, is they expect the next Marvel movie to be bigger and better every time.
Yeah, I'm
But
not
it's
a
like,
comic
no,
book
we're
nerd,
gonna
so-
have these peaks and valleys
Oh,
of the production and the scope of it.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
But people don't get that because they didn't read comic books.
Well, yeah, I didn't read comic books either, but I kind of just creatively know how things, like,
Right.
as a writer, things should be done. So yeah, save the big things for the big things, and
Right.
and tone it down for the little ones.
Which is
And-
why, like, Homecoming, Spider-Man Homecoming doesn't need to be a big thing.
No.
No, I'd rather them do something smaller where they take the significant amount of money and just focus on making Spider-Man look the best fucking version as they can. Because that was one of the things I left watching the Civil War going, he was so cool looking.
Yeah.
And I was trying to take like snapshots in my mind when he's flipping through the airport and he's doing all of his things. I'm like, that's Spider-Man.
Yeah,
That's
right.
Spider-Man. Where like the last two movies, I was kind of felt a little weird. There were some weird moments where I was like, that's not quite Spider-Man.
Right.
And then it was like CGI this, and I'm like, no, I'm good. I don't want CGI. I know you can't have an actual person flipping around with spider webs, but the moments where there doesn't need to be CGI needed to be the actor. And from what I have heard, he actually did most of it. He pulled out these flips and these rolls, and he was learning all of it. And
Awesome.
it was just so fucking cool.
Mhm.
Then on top of that, Black Panther absolutely fucking killed it.
Yeah.
And that little story arc of
end.
Black Panther himself, T'Challa, was just insane. I didn't even see it coming at the end when he was talking to Zemo, and I was just like, "What is he's probably gonna claw this dude's fucking face off?"
Right.
And then he's like, and you saw the change. There was that moment. It was
even though
great
you're all
acting.
suited up,
Yeah.
you can still see the body language.
Well, yeah, he was so good in the suit, and then he takes the helmet off for that end moment, and he's talking to Baron Zemo, and he's got this anger and this rage, and he's like, I'm gonna fucking destroy you. You killed my father. You caused mass chaos. I don't like you at all. And then he just goes, no.
That's not who I am.
Everybody suffered enough.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And Chadwick killed it as an actor.
Oh my God.
I am more excited for that Black Panther movie than almost anything coming up.
I saw an interview with that guy, and he is so like American. I mean, he talks like any other black dude that you could ever think of.
Right.
You know, I mean, he sounds pretty gangster when he talks.
Right.
And that accent was fucking sexy.
I thought it was too.
Oh my God. Like I'm convinced because
Right.
of Chadwick Boseman and Michael Coulter and Denzel Washington. If I ever went gay, it'd be for a black dude.
Right.
Because Morgan Freeman, like
I wonder. It'd be cool to ask him. You know, if you ever got that chance, like a big con or something. You know, what did you do? Did you go? You know, did you leave the country to learn to get that accent down, or did it just come naturally? Or?
From what I read, he was him and the Russo brothers basically researched Central and Northern African accents and then blended the two to make the Wakandan accent.
Okay.
And
because unlike the rest of Marvel Universe, Wakanda's not an actual existing country or world or even an area in Africa. So like we exist in New York and whatever, but like Gotham isn't real, Metropolis isn't real, Central City isn't real.
Right.
But you get the gist.
Yeah,
what
exactly.
It is.
I thought it was killer. I believed it from 100%. I've been part of missions from Africa where like the Kenyans and South Africans come over, and I'm like, oh, I totally hear your accent. I totally get it. Wakanda killed it. That was awesome accent for that country for 100%.
Oh God, it was beautiful.
Yeah. And I even to interrupt you, but I was reading Black Panther the comic. The first they have 1 and 2 just came out, and I read the first one like in my own voice and hearing. Well, I read the second one after seeing Civil War. I totally reread it in that accent. I could hear it as I was reading it. It made the comic even better.
Oh, I bet.
I bet.
I bet. The thing about Civil War that made it such a huge hit for me was the emotion behind it. Because everybody's emotions were so high. And the one person that I feel like gave the most heart in everything was Robert Downey Jr. I wouldn't say stole the movie.
No.
You know, it was definitely a Chris Evans Captain America movie.
Yeah.
But
emotionally.
Oh my God, the undertones, like he definitely showed his acting chops. And I've never seen a movie that he's in that I felt like he just phoned it in.
Right.
He's always killed it. But this movie, down to when he catches the bullet in the iron glove, that look on his face like, fuck, that could have killed me, to when he, tells Cap, I used to be your friend too, that moment.
Right.
And then
when he realizes how many people he's hurt and
right.
Yeah.
But for me, the thing that just tore my heart out was when they did the big reveal. Yeah. And Cap's like, you don't have to do this. And he goes, son of a bitch killed my mom.
Right.
Yeah.
That crack in his voice.
Right.
Ugh.
Right. Yes.
Oh my god.
That was probably the best part of the movie.
Jesus Christ. That line just that's what drove that movie home for me.
Yeah, I agree.
It was and hearing Zemo's story. Because even Zemo nailed it.
Yeah,
He-
emotionally.
Oh yeah. You know, Zemo's story. Then you got Bucky's story. You know,
It's
he
very
has
emotional,
no
for
control
sure.
over his entire life.
Yeah.
Everything in his life is controlled by somebody else.
So sad.
You know, and Cap feels like that's what's going to start happening to him, is that every aspect of his life is going to be controlled. And even though they didn't really say it, you can still, like, at least to me, I saw Cap's big motivation was that he saw what Bucky had gone through with the Soviets. He felt like that's where the Sokovia Accords were going to lead. Is that all of a sudden he's
makes
going to be
sense.
this dog on a chain that's controlled. And he, you know, that wasn't said very explicitly, but really that's what I think he was thinking. You know, and maybe there's a deleted scene, you know, something like that. But
No, I think that's what he portrayed 100%.
it just wasn't said out loud. Again,
Right.
it's one of those things where, like, you can figure it out
Yeah,
if you're
right.
actually
I
paying
mean-
attention. It doesn't have to be drawn out for you, but, you know,
No.
audiences...
I think it was.
It's.
I mean,
very
if you didn't
controversial.
catch it, then you weren't paying attention to the movie.
Right.
You were too busy looking at his pecs or something.
Which were massive.
Yeah, they were. I mean, even Paul Rudd was getting
Oh,
up on
God.
him.
Paul Rudd geeking out over Cap was so amazing. I love Paul Rudd.
Oh, 100%.
And that moment was so Paul Rudd. Like, he was just, when he got out of the van,
Yeah.
he was like, okay, I'm just going to be me for a second. And wow, oh my God, you're so big. Wow. Just, oh, it was so great.
Yeah.
I loved that.
That whole moment of Captain with the Bug and Falcon and Winter Soldier, and he kisses Agent 13. I can never remember her name. Is it Carter?
Yeah, she's Carter's granddaughter.
She
Oh.
Or not granddaughter, or
well, sort of. She's
niece or something like that.
Yeah.
Niece.
Yeah,
Yeah, because it was Aunt Carter
yeah.
to her. I don't know. I don't remember if her last name is Carter or not. But yeah, she's Agent 13 essentially, which is she plays a big role in the comics.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad that they're creating this relationship with her. I hope that they pull her in, because that's one of the things that I feel like is missing in all of these comic book movies. Is there is no relationship. Like
nobody has a relationship.
right, like so Tony Stark finally gets with Pepper at the end of 2. They kind of hum-haw over it in 3, and then it's gone in Civil War.
Agreed.
And then, you know, Peter Parker has 2 fucked up couple movies with his relationships. They never really touch on it. They never make it a priority. I want to see a hero trying to have a relationship with somebody.
It's really
Right.
hard because that's what did villains do? They
Yeah.
use the people that
Well,
you
right.
love and care about as you're gonna find them doing that because
Well,
look what they did with Batman versus Superman. They had Lois
Oh.
Lane get taken away, so they used her. They used the mom. So when you start putting all these family members and girlfriends in, and you get sidetracked from the other thing, and I like DC and more. I'm a 50-50 girl.
I am big. I'm 100% on both sides. I collect both versions.
As
of
long
comics.
as it's a
I've
good
always
story,
collected both. Yeah.
a good movie, I
Yeah.
like it. I don't care what
Right.
universe you're from.
Yeah.
You sucked me in emotionally, I like it.
For me, DC, the biggest draw for me is Batman. But I've always felt like Batman, and honestly, a big part of it is Bob Kane wanted it this way. Batman always felt different than DC, to me, tonally, and with his villains, he always felt separate from DC.
I'm an X-Men freak, so
Well,
Yeah.
and see, and unfortunately, I have mild disdain towards Bob Kane because I've heard multiple stories of how
Douchey.
actually trashy he was. Yeah, exactly. And so I would probably credit more of a Bill Finger, or even taking it further, Batman was still mildly unique until Frank Miller touched him.
Yeah, that's
And
true.
then at that point, pivotal moments change and everybody explodes off of Frank Miller's move. You know, everything that Grant Morrison has done, Scott Snyder, it's so everybody that's touched the Batman has exploded off of Frank Miller.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we don't have Batman without Bob Kane, without Bill Finger.
Right.
You know, so
Right.
those things are very, very special in their own right. And so, as far as Spider-Man goes, to wrap up everything that we got going, you had an idea. Where are you going with this idea?
Okay, so I feel like Spider-Man, especially having such a versatile rogues gallery that he does, why do we always limit him to movies? Why do we always try and cram 3 villains into one fucking movie? Why don't we introduce him in Civil War and then we explain some shit and do some big thing or not so big thing with Homecoming, and then we bring him to
A series.
Netflix?
Right. And then he can have a
Yeah.
relationship.
And then
Well, some of the best Spider-Man series is him with Daredevil.
And that would be so much fun. And because
I think
he's
it'd be
got
fun.
that really good rogues gallery of bad guys,
Oh.
he's perfect for a Netflix series.
I think so too. I agree.
He's
The giant question would be is how much are they making off of these?
right. That's
Which
true.
is stupid.
That is.
Unfortunately.
but
It's reality, but it's stupid. I hate it.
I agree.
I
It's
think-
like everybody bitching, like, "Oh, Captain America should have made over 200 million."
How about you just make a good movie and we like it?
Yeah, 200 million, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm like, but 181 million.
yeah.
You're sneezing at 181 million.
Right.
5th highest grossing domestic movie ever.
I'd rather enjoy my movie than worry about money.
Right.
Right.
That's
Deadpool.
me.
What was that, like 55 million to make that fucking movie?
I think
They gave
68
him 50.
was,
68?
was finally
Yeah.
because of advertising. I think 68 was.
It was one of the best fucking movies this year so far.
Oh,
I would
yeah.
probably put it
Off
just
of that budget.
Oh yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I'm really hardcore. I'm really hard to say whether it's better than Civil War. I'm still like 50-50 on which one's
For
better.
me,
Well, they're
For me,
two
it was
different-
better than Civil War. For me, in terms of enjoyment, in terms
Enjoyment?
of fun,
Yes.
in terms
That's
of
what I'm
just
saying. It's two different.
yeah, that's true.
It is
Like,
two different movies, 100%.
you're
Two
looking at
different comedy and
an
seriousness.
action drama
Right.
versus an action comedy,
Yes.
and
Completely different.
totally different. But still, like I just enjoyed the shit out of it.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
It was so
Hilarious.
Yeah, to me, I mean, I love Civil War from beginning to end. I never felt like it slowed down. I was curious about every line, every interest, where it was moving. You know, I laughed with them and I went back and forth. But but I agree. I think Spider-Man being on in a TV show, I think everything needs to have a TV show.
fun. And
If you have a
already
good writer-
you already have that established.
Right.
You have New York already established.
Yeah.
You have Kingpin already established, and Kingpin plays into Spider-Man a
100%.
bunch.
90s cartoon, Kingpin and Daredevil are all over Spider-Man and everything.
Exactly.
It was so awesome.
Exactly. Why not do it? And yeah, you brought up money. Well, obviously they're making at least some sort of money if
Oh,
Netflix is already going like, well, shit, if Agent Carter's not going to get season 3 on CBS then or ABC,
I don't remember which one was on.
then maybe we'll just bring her over here.
And it'll make so
if
much sense.
and
Oh,
if
big time.
Marvel has already been giving them, I mean, Marvel already okayed them with Iron Fist, with Jessica
Defenders.
Jones, the Defenders. Like, I mean, these aren't tiny names. Daredevil isn't a tiny name.
Well,
Like,
Daredevil's definitely not a tiny name.
exactly, and Wilson Fisk, the Kingpin, he
Oh.
plays into a lot of the East Coast Marvel comic books.
Right. And is William D'Onofrio not just absolutely fucking killing it?
Yeah, oh, yeah. He's so good.
100%. He is so fucking intimidating in that show.
Yeah.
And I don't know where season 3 for Daredevil is going to go. I mean, I believe that it's 100% it's going to be Daredevil versus Kingpin. But if that's the case, are they going to kill Kingpin at the end? Is that the only way to stop him? But if you don't, then you open the door for bringing in a
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man, bringing in the rest
Maybe
of
he'll
the MCU.
just go away for a while, but we don't know where or how.
Right.
Right.
Well, and that's the big thing is we have talked about TV formats.
Mm-hmm.
Well, taking X-Files for example. X-Files was a movie that became a TV show, and then did a TV show for a little while, and then became a movie.
And then became another TV show.
Right, and so now it's back to being a TV show. Why can we not do this? Why
Right.
can we not have a
Double.
exactly?
You know, they did it with Veronica Mars.
Right.
They did it with Serenity and Firefly.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
Why
Buffy
not?
was even a movie in the 80s and then became a TV show in the 90s. So why can we not do this? Why does it have to be so cinematically exclusive? And then at the same time, the question is, what format do you choose? So Netflix, to me, is an instant reaction. I would rather have Daredevil show up in, say, whatever month it shows up in. So say it's the first week of March, which is pretty close to, I think, when it came out. So we know that we're going to get 13 episodes in March, and then we're not going to get it for another year. But every first week of March, we get Daredevil. But then every week after that, every week for every day, we have a series to run through. Why can't we do that? Why do we have to have 22 episodes of Flash? You know? It makes things difficult. What do you think? How do you feel about TV? You watch a lot more TV than I do. What is it that taking all of the pieces, Game of Thrones, Penny Dreadful, you are a big fan of Billions. I haven't watched it.
I love Billions.
Right. It's still a 13 episode show.
It is, and I came into it late, so I got to sit there and binge.
Right.
And for me, I'm an emotional person, so I don't like you cutting off my emotions.
Right.
I'd rather sit there and watch it like a full movie and emotionally get involved in the whole entire moment and not stop, or have a choice to stop. Okay, this is a good stopping point. Okay, I can walk away knowing it'll be here if I want to watch it tomorrow or whatever, compared to losing that week and then months. But I like the drop of it all at one point. It's emotionally fulfilling for me.
Right. Well, that's how I feel. Like, taking Flash, for example. I watched Flash this season all the way up till the last break. And then it had like a 3-week break.
Yeah.
And I just kind of lost myself.
It's the holiday break.
Yeah.
That's hard.
I have such a hard time getting back into it after the holiday break.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
I did the same thing.
Well, like, take your wife, for example. She's behind. So
I'm behind.
Well, I mean, you're behind, but she's really behind. She's like season 1 behind in Arrow. So she's got like 5 seasons to catch up on.
Well, and they bounce off each other, Arrow and Flash. And
Exactly.
so, I mean, I had to binge, like, because I was home. We had Flash, Arrow, and we had to line them up perfectly. And
Yeah.
I'd even call them and be like, is it season 2? Okay, so is it episode 6 and then 7 goes on them? And it's like, because you're bouncing off a storyline back and forth, and that's really hard.
Yeah.
Which might make Netflix a little harder.
No, I
If
think
you're binging on Flash and then you go to Arrow, or do you take control and go, okay, I have to go back out, go in Arrow now go back over to Flash.
Well, I think that's what
That's the hard part.
See, the thing is what you would do is change the format of how it works. Instead of having to watch Flash on Tuesday and then watch Arrow on Wednesday to get the whole story would just be in the Flash run of 13 episodes. Because, like, even network TV, they only do, like, 13 episodes, and then the rest of it's filler.
Right, but if you're watching all the Flash that has Arrow coming in, but you don't watch any Arrow, wouldn't that kind of ruin some things for when you went to watch Arrow?
No. See, that's the thing is you would write it differently.
Oh, okay.
Right.
You would no longer
So you'd
write
write
them
it
side by
per
side.
Netflix.
Exactly.
Okay.
Right.
So you may take say Arrow comes out in April and then Flash doesn't come out till May, and you're doing this Netflix style where you're dropping all 13
Right.
episodes. and say Flash shows up in May or in April with Arrow. In the May version of Flash, you can mention, oh, I was over here hanging out with Diggle and I did this, and and I had to deal with Dark or Donnie Dark or whatever the fuck his name is. I think that's what his name is right now. The big bad guy, Donnie Darko. That's the movie.
That's a movie,
Yeah.
babe.
It's Damien Dark. Is
Damien
his name.
Dark.
But that's the thing is you would have to write things different, and I think that's the kind of the thing is we need to kind of I feel that network TV is falling apart. It's hard for Allura to pick up. What is it? Where she's behind what, like 88 episodes
or something. I don't
Right.
know.
That's 45 minutes a piece. You're talking.
You don't have time.
Yeah,
Right.
you got like 4 months worth of fucking shows to watch in
Right.
just one show, and I'm telling you, all 44 episodes are not good.
Right.
There are filler episodes that are absolutely a waste.
Right.
They are not fun.
Which, if you did it on Netflix, they would
Right.
rip those out, make them shorter.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's like Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones is only 10 episodes. Penny Dreadful is only 10 episodes.
Ugh.
I believe Billions is only like 10 episodes. All of those primetime shows that are on HBO, Showtime, those are fascinating.
No, they're
the
amazing.
story fucking matters. Not every one of the
And
stories
you have
for
to
all
wait a
those shows
whole
matter.
year.
Yeah, I mean,
So
I've fallen.
agonizing.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, even Criminal Minds, which is a dumb show in its own right to a point, because it's like, oh, what's gonna happen? They're gonna solve it
Right.
every episode. Oh, we solved it. We found the guy. We captured the guy. Every now and then, you have an episode or maybe a whole season arc where a bad guy's tormenting them in their way, and it lasts like 3 or 4 episodes. You take Criminal Minds concept, you move it to a Netflix or a Hulu or even Amazon, and you give us this large story arc, that might be a really fantastic fucking show.
Yeah.
It'd be like True Detective.
Exactly.
And that was
Well,
amazing.
season 1.
Season 1 was
see,
so
I
good.
watched
Yeah.
I watched half of season
Here's
2.
the thing,
I just
though.
couldn't. It just didn't hold me.
Right.
No.
Like season
But-
1 was amazing.
Oh, season
You-
was so good.
In order to do that, you do have to put it on something like Netflix or HBO is even like pushing it, because they tried doing that on a network, and that was Hannibal. And Hannibal only
Yeah.
lasted 2 seasons, and it barely lasted.
But I did.
It did go 3 seasons.
But I was upset about that. I love
Well, and that's
Hannibal.
the problem is Hannibal didn't end. It just stopped.
It just stopped. Yeah, it didn't
Yeah.
end.
Right, and so we have met.
But they say that they're coming out with it later on.
Right,
maybe
Matt
a year
says
or
that
two.
there's an option for season 4. I don't want it to be on CBS or NBC or whatever the fucking show is. That show was so goddamn good.
Hannibal would have been good, like a True Detective.
Right.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, no.
100%.
Honestly, I think one of the weaknesses was that they didn't get picked up by a streaming service, and they had to censor themselves. Like they
Yeah.
got away with a lot of
They
fucked up
did.
shit, and it
That
was awesome.
So dark.
It was
so heavy.
awesome,
Oh,
but-
it was so good.
Yeah, like if they got to go no holds barred and just do whatever the fuck they wanted, holy shit,
That would have been
Right?
amazing.
The
it would have been
guy
the
who-
scariest fucking
You
show
would
you'd
have had like
ever seen.
major
Oh, yeah.
cannibalism. You would have like, I mean, they already pushed it with half the scenes of the
Oh,
death
yeah.
scenes.
Yeah,
Well, even when Hannibal was cooking his thing, or his meals, you question whether or not the meat he's tossing
Is
around
real
and
or
slicing
not.
is that human or is that like a cow? You had no fucking
oh no, it was
clue.
human every time. It was human. I guarantee
Well,
it.
there was one episode that stood out to me that
I think he cooked fish or something.
well, no, he had like a party, and he saw him in the thing, and he's chopping up thing, and Mads Mikkelsen just was so fucking good. I mean, if you don't get what's his name to play Hannibal Lecter,
Anthony Hopkins.
Anthony Hopkins, Mads is an easy replacement. He was so good.
Mm-hmm.
But him in the kitchen, he's chopping up the stuff and he's mixing everything, and he looks like he belongs in the kitchen and everything. He was just such a good actor for that moment. But there was this party, and the main guy, he plays
Oh boy.
Graham something or something. I think is his name.
Oh yeah.
But he's so convinced. He said, "Test the meat, test the meat, test the meat," and and he gets the meat and they test it all and it's all 100%.
Yep.
It was just the mind games
Yeah.
that Hannibal fucking played with him over and over and over again. And then that season 2 end where he's stabbing everybody and everybody's dead. You have no fucking clue what's going on. It was such a fucking awesome thing.
I know, and I was like devastated when they said they weren't pulling it back. I was like, what?
They canceled it. That was just...
I didn't understand why. I was like, why? Why?
None of
This
viewers.
is good.
Yeah,
None of
well,
yours.
that's the problem.
That's why it should be on Netflix.
Yeah.
100% Netflix
If you
show.
can get people to watch the dark and gritty and, because there is nothing happy about Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
There is not a fucking thing happy about that fucking
That's
show.
part of the reason I haven't kept up on it is that it just number one, it feels like a chore because I gotta remember who everybody is and whatever, who's fucking who said what, who's doing this, who's doing.
It's so good Sunday.
But then it's just like it's so joyless. Like I don't even get to see some fucking dragons. They keep talking about the dragons, but
Yeah.
you don't
they
get to
don't show
fucking
it
see
very
them.
often.
No, instead you just get to watch family after family get torn apart and fucked over and then murdered.
Right.
And it's just like, oh my god, can we just have one birthday scene? Yeah, sure, you can have a fucking wedding. And then guess what?
You're poisoned. Dead. Bye.
Stab, 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 stab.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, and that is the hard part about Game
Watch
of
the
Thrones.
fetus fall out of her gut. Like,
Yeah.
awesome.
Hey, that's my kind of stuff. So
I
that's
remember
probably why I like it.
reading The Red Wedding, and I literally set the book down and walked away. I was just...
See, I never read the books, but I had friends that read the books. And,
Right.
And I remember how depressed they got when they
Oh.
read that part. And so I knew the Red Wedding was coming. And I was like, oh, it's going to be so good when because the internet's going to blow the fuck up as soon as they do the Red Wedding. And so, yeah, I sat back and I laughed my dick off because I was like, shit, I knew that was going to happen.
Yeah. It was gnarly and a half in the book. I mean, it's... George R.R. Martin is... He literally gets you to fall in love with a character, and as soon as you fall in love with them,
Oh yeah.
they're dead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's the only writer that's ever done that.
It's
I mean,
retarded.
J.K. Rowling has killed off characters that you sit there and go, "Oh my god, I wish you did not do that." Even Josh Whedon has done it. And I'm okay with certain characters dying.
Mhm.
But George is like, "Yeah, here's a character. Enjoy him. Yeah, he's done. You're done. You're good. Have a good life." I want you to read my next book. I got more death for you.
Right?
And that's a PR event, right?
I mean, it all depends on the viewer and what they like too. I mean, obviously, Sante, you don't like the much depression
I
and
just wanna have
darkness and
fun. I just like
see, and I like that stuff. I'm a huge
I don't want
dark
to
person.
feel
So.
the dour, like depression of like, oh my god, everybody's out to get me. Like I just want to have fun. I want to, live out a fantasy or watch a fantasy play out in front of me. I don't want to watch
Right.
dying, just dead people.
Right. So, I guess we could ultimately collectively say that network TV is kind of on its outs. We're thinking
My
we're
God.
more of a fan of HBO because I don't mind a week in between my shows to talk about it. I mean, I'm talking about Game of Thrones now that just came out Sunday, and I'm still thinking like, God, I can't wait for the next episode, but I still want to talk about the last episode.
The thing I'm not looking forward to is having to pay the $5, $10, $15 a month for, the channels that I
show.
want, because I want the CBS one because the new Star Trek that they're going to do on there. I
Right.
want to watch the shit out of that. I really do. But there's no way.
Yeah.
There's no way I'm going to pay money to watch that. I'm sorry. There's just not. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to pay for another subscription service, a streaming service, other than Netflix that I already pay for.
Right.
just to watch one show.
Right.
Well,
Like-
like I just read, and I don't know the whole story behind it, but apparently PlayStation is doing a View thing where you get certain channels. CBS is one of them. If Star Trek is part of that, would that be something you would jump
Oh,
to?
yeah.
Where, I don't know. That's the weird thing about they announced this Star Trek
I
TV
didn't
show.
know about Star Trek TV show.
Oh, well,
So-
they're doing a new Star Trek TV show. We have no
I'm almost
idea
done
about
with Next
anything about it.
Generation. I'm a huge.
Yeah.
I'm a
The
huge
only thing that I
Star
know
Trek
of is that they're running the Star Trek TV show, and they're not showing it on CBS primetime. So if you're
Well, they will. They'll show episode 1.
yeah,
Just
They're gonna show the first episode on CBS. It's gonna be like a one night special event, probably on a Sunday.
yeah,
Everybody.
maybe a Sunday, depends on timing when it comes out.
Right. Everybody goes home and gets in front of their TV and watches the first episode, and then after that, if you want the rest, you have to get the CBS Go or whatever they call
CBS
it.
app of whatever sorts. Like you can get it now, and you can watch I'm a huge fan of Supergirl. I've been watching Supergirl, and by the way, I'm extremely excited. She's jumping the CW. That needs more crossovers.
Yes.
But yeah, CBS has this app, and the only way you can watch the Star Trek is if you buy the app. The app is like $6 a month or some shit like that. Yeah. So
What if I have Xfinity? No.
Nope.
Fucking A.
See,
Exactly.
and you'll be able
Are
to
you
get all of the
kidding me?
CBS shows on demand as part of this, streaming app. But again, I'm already paying for Netflix. Other people are already paying for cable.
yeah,
I'm already paying.
I think cable's gonna be obsolete pretty damn soon.
it's getting there for 100%.
Seriously.
Especially if PlayStation is doing this views thing, where you get
No, then you can watch everything on your freaking Xbox. Even.
well, and that's
Right.
what I'm hoping is
and your phones and
Right.
right, and that's so we just got Amazon, and that's another $15. So I'm already paying $30 worth of TV, and I'm trying to weigh out whether or not these are worth it. And that's kind of the fun part about exploring
Amazon's pretty
this.
worth it.
I think so far, especially because we've already explored it. Going, there's movies and TV that I'm interested in. They have some that Netflix doesn't, and then on top of that, there are movies that I'm not going to want to buy,
Right.
but I want to rent. But at the same time, I don't want to deal with the exchange that Redbox has, even if it's $1 or $2 cheaper or whatever it is. I don't want to have to deal with it. I want
just
to.
want to push a button and go.
Yeah, I want to sit down Friday. I'm out of work.
Get Chinese.
Let's
food.
have a couple drinks. What the fuck do you want to watch? I don't know. Let's watch 40-year-old version again. All right, cool. $4. That's worth it.
Right.
It's a great fucking movie. It's hilarious. Paul Rudd's awesome in it. You get to see his ass. It's a cute ass. But yeah, that's my point. Is I think we're primetime TV cable is dying. People are cutting the cords. That's the advertisement left and right. It's happening. Now they need to jump on it. I think they need to jump on a different format.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What they come up with, I don't know. I hope they come up with something.
And I see personally, I'm okay with dropping the number of episodes. You don't need that many.
Mm-hmm.
If that's the case, that frees the actors up to do more.
Right.
Whatever that is, you see the Criminal Minds. Jennifer Love Hewitt jumped on Criminal Minds this last season, but the black guy's jumping off. I don't remember his name, unfortunately. I don't mean to be rude. But he's jumping off because he wants to do other stuff. Well, he's been so tied up with this show, he's never been able to do other stuff. So take Flash, for example. And I'm rambling, and I'm going on and on and on and on and on because that is what I do. I am long-winded, so fuck you. But take Grant Gustafson. He's doing 22 to 23 episodes of Flash.
Right.
You remove him from that heavy schedule, can you not put him in the DCU cinematic universe now?
Right.
That's the biggest issue. He's got this schedule that's insane that I
That's
have
like
to
a
act
whole
and act
other
and act
podcast.
and act.
That's like an hour podcast right
No,
there.
absolutely. All right. I think we're going to stop right about here. And we're going to call this part 1. So look for part 2 out shortly. I hope you've enjoyed this conversation. I know we did, and that's why it ended up going so long. Please like, subscribe, share, get involved with us. We would really love to hear any version of feedback. So please, you can find us at all of these social media outlets: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, you are either listening to this on SoundCloud, YouTube, or iTunes, please leave comments. Try to interact with us. It'd be awesome to hear from people. So that's it for now. Thank you for tuning in.